different, which is a pretty cool part about Orange County. Every path that you have kind of leads you to where you need to be, and you kind of find yourself along your own journey, and that kind of makes Orange County so awesome because everyone brings something different to the table. For myself, I was in the military. I was in the Marine Corps for 8 years. I got out in 2019, and I was kind of trying to figure out what path I wanted to go down myself. I kind of found myself looking at law enforcement. I wasn't sure if I wanted to become a cop, to be honest, but I knew that coming from the military, it was very paramilitary, so I talked to different agencies and stuff like that, and I kind of found my home in Orange County. Just any business or any work environment you work in, it's the people that you work with that makes working special. And when I talked to people from Orange County, I kind of felt at home with that, and from the leadership from top to bottom, I truly enjoyed what they were talking about, and they're very family orientated. And it's Orange County, you can't really beat the scenery around that. So then I found myself joining. I've been in the department for about 3 years now. I was in the jails first. We started in the jails. I was at the, they call it the OAC facility. Just putting my head down, working hard, and then I got the opportunity to come over to recruiting. And I've been in recruiting since about October, and I love this spot. It's pretty awesome because I get to come out to college campuses. We all do. Go to military bases, kind of just share our stories, and you meet people who are eager to start a career path instead of like the other side of the fence, which is people who are kind of on the worst part of their day, or they're kind of finding themselves in a hole and they're trying to make a change in their life. That's the people that we encounter. So meeting all you guys and hearing your guys' story and seeing where you guys want to go in your life is a perfect spot. And then I'll pass it over to my partner, Deputy Palaio.
How's it going, guys? Like my partner said, my name's Deputy Palaio. I've got about a little over 2 years on. I started at the Intake Release Center, so anybody getting booked in Orange County would come to us, and that is literally everybody. So like my partner said, you meet anybody going to jail, probably not on their best day because of X, Y, and Z. We understand they've all made mistakes, but things can get pretty crazy in the jails, as you probably know, and that's where we start. We build that foundation before we go out to patrol. Me and my partner are on the list to go out to patrol just after 2 years. I know back then my dad did about 8 years in custody before he even went out to patrol. So it's definitely a great career, great place. I was in your shoes a few years ago. I went to Cal State Fullerton. I did the whole college route, did my 4 years, got my degree in communication studies. And during that time, I kind of found myself in a corporate environment with In-N-Out. Not really sure if I enjoyed corporate, sitting behind a desk. And I gave it a shot. My father's in the department. Not that he was a pressure to get into law enforcement, but I really wanted to make a difference, and that's kind of how I got here.
Hi, I'm Deputy Jessie Dornbush. I've been with the department about 7 years. I've been a deputy for a little over 2 years. We were actually classmates in the academy together, so we went to the same jail. Now we're recruiting together, so we're just hanging out with each other. But before that, I was a 911 dispatcher for the Orange County Sheriff's Department. I did that about for 5 years. I actually really liked that position. I just hit my spot of where I wanted to try something new also. And being a deputy with our department, you can do a wide range of different spots within. So I don't like to get comfortable, and I like to move on. So I became a deputy after that. But before that, I worked in animal hospitals. I definitely, like my partner said, I wasn't planning on going into law enforcement. It was something like I was looking for something new. So I got into 911 dispatcher, and I still go back and help them. It's still a really rewarding job, and I work overtime with them. And then actually while I was a 911 dispatcher, I was going to school full-time for Cal State Fullerton. And our department does an education incentive, so they paid for most of my bachelor degree. So I got that in sociology. And then like my partner Palaio said, we're gonna go out to patrol soon, only after 2 years. So it's awesome. I know a lot of people are the orange. They don't want to go to the sheriff's department because they're like, I don't want to go to the jails. I learned so much in the jails that I would have never learned just going straight out to patrol. So it's something to think about. We're going to talk about like the difference between police department and sheriff's department, but yeah, that's where I'm at now.
So we kind of went in the background of who we are. What we're going to go over today is kind of like what Deputy Dornbush said, the difference between a PD and a sheriff's department. And then we're going to go into the depth of like what it requires to become a deputy, and then we're going to hit job opportunities for professional staff and civilian side as well, just so you guys are interested in that also. So the difference between the sheriff's department and the police department, it really comes down to jurisdiction. If you think about it, like for the city of Menifee has its own PD, So those guys patrol just the city of Menifee. So you're doing everything from the jurisdiction for Menifee. For us, for instance, we're from all the way from San Clemente all the way up to Yorba Linda. So it's a bigger spectrum of jurisdiction. Also, when it comes down to like job opportunities, if you think about it in this way, like let's say Menifee only has like 5 canines, so then it's very competitive to get a canine spot. Well, for us, we have like 5 canines just in jail, and then when you go to patrol, there's like 15, and that just translates into anything: gangs, narcotics, bomb squad, SWAT, harbor patrol, just everything. So once you hit the patrol level and then you go to the next level like investigator and stuff like that, there's more opportunity in the sheriff's department than necessarily the PD, because the PDs, they only could be in a special assignment for about 5 years and then they have to go back to patrol. For us, you could be in a special assignment for a long period of time, and then you kind of just go to the next special unit. You necessarily don't have to go back to patrol. You hit another specialty unit. And another thing too with us is if you did graduate through our academy and become a sworn police officer through the state of California and you didn't want to go to patrol, you could stay in the jails, or you could go to courts, or you could find a specialty unit as a deputy 1, and you could still earn a living that way, which a lot of deputies do too. Everyone in the department kind of finds their own niche. My niche is totally different than my 2 partners. It's just kind of what your aspirations are going. Even if you want to be law enforcement or you want to be the professional side, there's just a lot more opportunity even with that as well too. As you see, there's 13 contract cities for us. As I was saying earlier, it goes all the way from San Clemente all the way to Yorba Linda. And then we hit some contract cities. Pretty much means like smaller cities who can't necessarily fund their own city. We kind of take over as a sheriff's department, and that's where the contract comes in, and that's why they call it a contract city. Some of those is kind of like Midway City, Rosemere, and Villa Park and stuff like that. So when you go out to patrol, you kind of just do ride-alongs in certain cities and kind of feel which ones you guys like better, and then call it putting a blue slip in, which is like you did a lot of FaceTime at this place, and then you go and meet the captain, and you're like, hey, I wanna, if you will take me, I've been putting this many rides, I've been meeting everybody, and I would like to patrol in this city. So depending on how well you do that, can kind of vary on what city you go to, and depending on where you live, obviously, that's where a lot of deputies pick what city they're gonna go to.
And a good thing about like the sheriff's department is the sheriff's department's gonna be around versus like a police department. So for instance, like San Clemente used to have their own police department until the city could no longer fund them, and the sheriff's department then took over San Clemente. So some of the smaller agencies, if it gets to a point, the sheriff's department will then take them over depending on what county they're in. So we're pretty stable in our careers.
Quick question on that. When you're, say it's San Clemente, do you still wear your Orange County Sheriff's
Yep.
uniform?
Yep,
You
it's-
don't wear the city? Because I've seen when they're contract, sheriff's officers are wearing the city's patches and uniforms. Oh, that's kind
Ours
of
is
weird.
still all Orange County, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, same with like Villa Park is one of the ones we took over. I know some of the smaller cities, like it's been word for a long time, I don't know, but like Placentia PD, I know Placentia is like for a while they're so small that they've been hurting, like sheriff's department been talking about like taking them over. So then their officers would just come over and their dispatchers if they wanted to.
Okay.
Like Yorba Linda, we took over them and they had the option to go to Yorba Linda or go to one of our other contract cities. So if they didn't want to go to Yorba Linda, even though it stayed there, they had options still. So they still got to keep their careers and stuff.
Cool.
It's nice.
Thank
The
you.
sheriff's department.
And then as you see, we have approximately 4,000 employees. We have like about 1,800 being sworn, and then the rest being the professional staff. With Orange County being such a big department, but small at the same time, where you get to know a lot of people and you go into different spots, you'll still run into similar people that you've met along the way. But it just goes to show how much job opportunity there is in no matter what field that you're interested into. So this is kind of the mission statement that we go by. This is kind of like our bread and butter for the way we go out to patrol and kind of the way we carry ourselves. And then we're going to show you guys a little video from our department, kind of in all aspects of the different jobs that we have and what they do.
What's your emergency? Help me, please. We're sending a deputy right now. Do you know what?
We never know what awaits us on the many diverse calls we respond to every day. Oftentimes, we are interacting with people during the worst moments of their lives. Ordinary people experiencing significant crisis. We stand ready to respond to our community when they need us most. We will use any resource, any team, and any personnel to help those we serve in need. In 2021, we responded to more than 482,000 calls for service in the communities we serve. Some consider these calls routine. However, there is nothing routine about a profession that requires you to carry a firearm and wear body armor to work each day. Though we did not always know what was waiting for us when we arrived, we were always prepared. Prepared to listen, prepared to act, and prepared to protect. We are the Orange County Sheriff's Department, and we are here to serve.
I get chills watching that.
So we kind of like showing that video to show again like the many different jobs that you have. You know, like we were saying earlier, Orange County, I truly believe if you just work for the county in general, it's like a family. Even if you're a deputy or your professional staff, all these little things are all these little things are helping to, you know, in your life you're trying to find like your path and your purpose, and we're all trying to be something bigger than ourselves, and in a way you're giving back to your community and helping out, even if you're law enforcement side or the professional staff. You have the corners that we're going to hit on, and all that stuff, just for the big picture thing, trying to help the community and, you know, be bigger than yourself, to be honest. These are kind of the sworn units that we have.
So we have our narcotics teams. So you saw some of them, how many different drugs that we've seized over the last year. We have our canines, like Vargas said earlier, we have our canines in the jail. So there's a canine set for each jail facility, and those canines aren't bite canines, they're actually drug sniffing canines and electronics, because they're not allowed to bring cell phones or anything like that into the jails. So those ones are specifically trained for that. And then we have our over 15 canines that are out on patrol for the different units. So those ones could either be for drugs, firearms, or bite canines. And then we have the bomb squad, which you can be on as before you go to patrol. So working in the jails, you can still be on bomb squad. You just have to have the goal to go to patrol. And same thing with SWAT. You can try out for SWAT as soon as you become a deputy if you want. You just have to have that goal to go to patrol, since that's where you're going to use more of the SWAT team. We have our Harbor Division, which has in Newport, Sunset Beach, down at Dana Point. So we patrol that whole coast. We have our different investigative units. We have like family protection, which does child abuse, domestic violence. We have financial crimes, computer crimes. We have homicide, sex crimes. We have all those different investigations. We also handle the John Wayne Airport. And then we have crisis negotiation, which you can be on as a deputy also in the jails. It's like kind of like an extra duty that you can get called out to some of these situations where they maybe have a hostage or just someone that needs to be talked down for anything like a suicidal calling. We have our motor units in every city. There's at least 2. And then we have our mounted units, which is the horses that go out. So if there's riots or big events or anything like that, the horses are used for crowd control. We have our bicycle patrol, which is in every city as well. Those are the deputies are on the bikes. And then we have our color guard, which you kind of saw at the beginning of the video. They do like the shooting at the beginning of ceremonies and stuff like that.
I think the beautiful part of like the sworn positions is whatever you're interested in. If it is law enforcement, you're still not sure what you want to do later down the road in terms of a career, you can kind of find that niche and run with it. So I'm really interested in training and would like to go help out at the academy as tactical staff, but obviously I still need to do my time patrol before I get there. We run the mentoring program, which we'll get into later, and that's my way of giving back and kind of serving my purpose.
And then this is all of our professional staff. And like Vargas said, we have 4,000 employees, but only 1,800 are sworn. So that means we have more professional staff than we do deputies out. So we have forensic science, we have dispatch, which I talked about earlier, that I did before, which is also the answering 911 calls and dispatching the deputies out to those calls. They're all in the same call center. We have our information technologies, like our IT department that runs the whole county of Orange. We have cooks within all your different jail facilities. They all are ran by professional staff, overseeing the inmates and making sure that the inmates get the proper amount of food and nutrients. We have our research and development. We have finance divisions within the county of Orange also, and all of these have benefits. Inmate services, we have our records division, and our records are within the jails, also within in every city. So there's a wide range of records positions. Facilities management, communications, those are the ones that oversee the radios, make sure all those are always functioning properly. Health services, we have nurses, behavioral health, everything within the jail facilities, as well working with the deputies out in our cities. So Heather's saying the behavioral health unit. We have deputies that are out there that work with our behavioral health nurses to help the people that are out calling for service, rather than it used to be the way, you know, obviously someone's causing a nuisance at a business. Well, they probably have a mental health problem, and the best way to get rid of them was to maybe just take them to jail. Well, we're not trying to do that anymore. Our county's not trying to do that anymore. Try to actually help these people and get the help they need. Take them to, there's a new facility in Orange that we use, actually get the help and medications and treatments. And then we also have mechanics that work within the county of Orange to work on all of our vehicles and everything like that, or helicopters. And all of these, we're gonna go into like the different hiring process. We don't necessarily touch too much on the professional staff for hiring, because all of them have different requirements or different ways that they go about their hiring process. So for example, like the cooks do have to take some sort of, like a little test just showing like measuring cups and different stuff like that, versus dispatch, you're gonna be on a 3-person panel interview. You're not gonna get that when you're going into finance, you're just gonna have a one-on-one interview. So they all kind of changed, but it definitely, if you ever did want to apply for one of the professional staff, it goes in there and it tells you exactly the hiring process and what to expect, so you're not really caught off guard. And there's always a recruiter, you can always reach out to one of us, that if you wanted to kind of know the hiring process for that specific position, so you're not caught off guard and not sure what you're going into.
As you guys are leaving on the desk right here, you guys take one of these cards and you scan it. When you get home, it takes you to the county's website, which you can literally type in a keyword or anything that you're possibly interested in. You're gonna get a drop down of all these different jobs. Whereas Deputy Dornbush was saying, you'll be able to click on one, read the description, and if you find one that kind of catches your attention, then you can apply that way, and then a recruiter reach out to you, and then you could start the process that way as well too. But that website, OC Government Jobs, is just huge for Orange County. And anything you think of, like the last video and what we gone over, you could type in any keywords. Like we go to, obviously we're here with you guys at college campuses, and we've been to like USC, where there's been like legal stuff and just things that you wouldn't really think of, that if you just type it in, I'm pretty sure Orange County has software too. So the whole next couple slides is kind of be going over the sworn side of things and like the process that goes down the road for becoming a sworn police officer. To see the hiring process for the test day, you come out, well, first of all, you go on the website and you apply for deputy sheriff trainee, and you get an email back saying that you're invited to the next test day. Our next testing day is going to be May 6th. That you come out to our Tustin Academy, you do the written test, which you about have like 90 minutes to complete. If you pass the written test, then you go on to pre-investigative screening, which is like kind of after you pass the test, you fill out like if you got a ticket or like what drugs you've done and stuff like that. And then if they feel it's necessary to talk to you, then they'll pull you aside and they'll kind of have you explain things. And you get past that, you go to the physical agility test, which as you see, it's 30 push-ups in 2 minutes, 30 sit-ups in 2 minutes, and then you have to do a 1.5 miles in 14 minutes. You pass that, and then you go and you get invited to do an oral board, which will be the following week. What you see at the bottom is a correctional service assistant. That's actually another job. They call them CSAs, which is in the jails. They're pretty much in the guard station, which is like the hub of each little, they call it a module, which is where certain criminals get placed depending on their crime. And they kind of just run that whole guard station with like the panels, and we have a logbook of everything that goes on today. And they're kind of just quarterbacking the deputies, whatever's going on, watching them while they're out on the floor. If something happens, like a fight or something, they call it out as well. Theirs testing is a little different. You come out, so you take the test, you still do the screening, and then as you see, you only do 12 push-ups in 2 minutes, then you have 12 sit-ups in 2 minutes, and then you have a pretty much 3/4 mile in 8 minutes to do. So the physical assessment's a little different, and then their academy is about only 6 weeks long compared to the 6 months. As I was saying, if you pass the physical fitness and the test and everything, you come out to do the oral panel. And if you guys do find yourself wanting to come out and test, make sure you get one of our cards, because if you pass everything and you want pointers on how to pass the oral board or anything, we'd love to give you guys advice on certain questions that ask or how to better prepare. On that board is going to be a sergeant, a deputy, and civilian. And what you're doing is pretty much just explaining your life and kind of making yourself sound good and how you could be a valuable asset to the department and how everything you've done so far led you up to becoming a deputy.
Deputy, quick question on that. I've had students in the past, when they're going through this background, they're brutally honest because they tell you to be. And then they get DQ'd because of response to something they did when they were in high school, maybe 16, 17 years old. The question is, have you ever been around anyone or used any type of narcotics? And they'll struggle, oh, that's right, I was at a prom party and they were smoking a joint. And so they're sharing this, and then before you know it, they're DQ'd and they just ruined their opportunities. What are your guys' perspective now when someone, a candidate, tells you something like that? Or do you know? Is that automatic DQ?
No. No. And I mean, more so automatic DQ is if they find out something that you didn't mention at all. That's gonna be an automatic DQ. Generally, if you've injected drugs is gonna be an automatic DQ. Being around drugs, anything like that, no. As long as you're honest about it. I mean, obviously, pretty sure most people have been around or have been at a party when they're 16, 17 where someone's smoking marijuana. So let's be honest, their background investigators have all been in maybe your same shoes, and if you haven't, that's, again, totally fine too. We do a polygraph. So as long as you're honest and have the same information throughout your whole background. And I mean, even like for me personally, I was suspended in high school. I got into a fight. They're gonna find that out. I got suspended. It's on my high school record. I'm just honest about it because it was a fight, but it was self-defense. But I did get into a fight. I did, obviously, I got and get suspended.
Yeah.
So I mean, that I was just honest about it, and they asked me what happened, why the fight started, and I told them. And I mean, here I am today.
Good.
But as long as you're honest and have good like reasoning behind, you know, why you did stuff most of the time.
That's kind of what I was gonna get on. Integrity is huge. Just like, and I'm sure people have cheated on tests, right? You know, look, you don't tell type of deal. But you do go through an extensive background history for a reason, because you have access to a lot of resources. They give you a gun and a badge. If you do, when you get into the professional staff side of things, you have even more access to different resources like personal records that you could completely flip somebody's life upside down. So in the background process, I know it is scary to think of a polygraph, but you're essentially just getting hooked up to a bunch of machine that just regulates your body temperature, your sweat, and this like inflection in your voice. So you answer the questions honestly, and I think with time, back then, things were a lot different than they are now.
Yeah.
Especially in California. A lot of these old school agencies would, hey, you smoked weed one time? Too bad, dude, come back in a year or two. I can honestly say in our background process, things have changed in terms of marijuana. You smoke meth, okay. What have you done since then?
Right.
Oh, I made X, Y, and Z this mistake. Okay, how have you grown?
Yeah.
Are you still just living in your mom's basement, like working some part-time job? Or do you have a full-time job, you're attending college, maybe volunteering, seeing the efforts? They wanna see how much you've grown since you made a mistake that you disclosed. So I know now that things are changing, they're a little bit more lenient in terms of drug use. It also depends on what type of drug. Fentanyl is not something to be messed with. I've seen multiple people die inside the jails because of fentanyl. And that thing also has killed a couple like good cops out there. They go man down, they don't have their Narcan or their partners aren't there to respond. They send a unit in it's already too late for that. So it is crazy. Drug use is, again, you experiment. Like, I think we were all in high school at one point, partying or whatever it may be. But as long as you disclose that and you've seen where you've gone from then, that has a lot to play with.
And recreational use of, say, marijuana now, that's still not tolerated, right?
Still not told.
Good, good, thank you.
And you know, some of the best cops are the people who made mistakes earlier in life, and then now they're out and they're dealing with someone going through the same situation, and they're able to give more insight because they've actually gone down that path before. So they're able to be more relatable and more personable, and then that's at the end of the day we're trying to be to the public, because that's our whole job, is trying to make a difference and make the community a better place. This is the background process. So after you pass the oral board, you get assigned a background investigator, and then these are the things that you'll be going through in the next 3 to 4 months. That's how long it takes to possibly get an academy date right now. The employment history, that's just self-explanatory. It's just all the jobs that you've had. It's put down the people you've worked with, and they send out letters and they fill out personal references. That's what that was. Criminal history, if you've ever been convicted or anything, or involved with police activity, you put that down. Your credit history, and then as Deputy Blau was talking about the polygraph, and then medical examination is just making sure that you're physically fit, or making sure you don't have any serious medical issues that you didn't even know about. For instance, the drug urinalysis test is kind of messed up right here too. The written oral, the psyche eval is kind of just, you go out and you do a big old 500 questionnaire, and you're just filling out different scenarios and different things, and you talk to the psych eval. And I mean, I've had partners that got all the way to the psych eval, failed, and then that's probably 7 months process, had to wait 6 months, and then go through the whole process again. And now he's out on patrol and he's killing it. So it just depends on how bad you want to become a law enforcement officer, or even professional side. There's just different avenues. So
And most of these are the same for the professional staff. They don't usually do a polygraph, a medical exam though, but they still will look at your references, which most jobs we've had before look at your references. They aren't just as open about it. We just actually send letters to them. But most of these, except for and you don't do a psych eval.
Wait, what was that for?
For the professional stuff, Yeah, you won't do, generally won't have to do a polygraph, won't have to do a medical exam, because that's for deputy, you're the ones that are gonna be out in the field or going through the stress academy.
The academy preparation, we do offer through Santa Ana College, they call it TAPS, which is you kinda, let's say you were kinda on the fence of wanting to go and become a law enforcement officer, you can kind of take a class, see what we do. As it says right there, it's 4 weeks, 16 hours, and you get 3 units. They teach you a lot of stuff that we do in the academy. So let's say, like I said, you were on the fence, and then you went through that, and you kind of get an upper hand because now you're going in the academy. You kind of got a feel for how it's going to be and everything like that.
At our mentoring program, so like I said, I love training, and honestly, how I started it off, anywhere you want to go, just in life, this is, say you're not interested in law enforcement or even professional staff, it's just a simple, how's it going? I'm interested in whatever you do, and you kind of just pick their brain about it, right? And then next thing you know, like, hey, are there opportunities for me to come help out and just see what you do? Yeah, there is. Come out this weekend. Okay, cool. Show up, have a good attitude about everything, and go from there. So our mentoring program is kind of what got me into the spot I'm at. Our mentoring programs for anybody who's in the background process for a deputy sheriff or correctional services assistant, they get firsthand experience at our academy because the academy, our academy specifically, is nationally ranked. It's one of the last stress academies in California. It's a 6-month process for those that are going into like the deputy sheriff route, and it's a 2-month process for the corrections. So the way they invoke stress is through yelling, because guess what? When you get sworn in, you're going out to the public, and you have to remain calm, cool, and collected. You can't just beat the crap out of somebody because they called you a bad word. So the program itself that we run, it's physical agility, a lot of protocol, and just building the foundation to get you ready for the academy so you can be seen as a leader there. And then the schedule for it, it's 2 days a week, 5 to 7. It's completely voluntary. We know that everybody has lives outside of work too, but it is extremely helpful. So if you do decide to join and you go into their background process, again, seeing the actual grounds themselves is eye-opening, because the first day that you do show up, you're expected to know all this protocol beforehand, and some people can get very lost. It's a little bit intimidating when you have this guy just full-blown yelling at you and you don't even know where you're at. So it's a good experience. And then we also do, again, physical training is huge. We are big fans of, it's called lifetime fitness, especially in our career, because I want my partners to be able to get to a call and actually save my life potentially. But if you are a little bit more out of shape or something like that, then you can't respond to the call, or you can't potentially save my life. Or if somebody's in a burning building and we have to drag them out and you're not physically capable, that person's dead, and it's kind of on your hands because you respond and you can't pull them out. So something to think about.
And then also a difference, how we were saying the academy, police departments versus Orange County Sheriffs, like Dr. Palaio said, our academy is nationally recognized, and police departments send their recruits to our academy. So if you're going to the mentoring program and you're on those grounds, you're getting to see what the building looks like, you're kind of getting to see where you're at, and I mean, that says something in itself that other police departments, instead of having their own, send to our academy. So that's just another thing.
Is yours a live-in academy?
It is not.
CHP
I think
does
only
it.
CHP does the live-in in
It's
this area.
Monday through Friday. It's going to be 06:30 to about 4:30 p.m. And then you have the weekends off, and then while you're in the academy, holidays are off as well too.
It's
so.
almost like you're going back to school.
And you are getting paid through the academy because you're getting hired on and you're getting accepted to go. So in the academy, you're making about $37 an hour, and then once you graduate, you go to $39. And the way it works for Orange County is every year on your graduation date, they call it an eval, and you get a promotion. So depending on, they also call it steps. You get a 4-step if you're like doing a really good job, and that could be anywhere from like $2 to $3. And then we max out as a deputy 1 about $56, and then you go to patrol and you go higher and higher, and investigation higher and higher, and then you climb the food chain that way pretty much. So
What is the prerequisites for getting into the academy? Is there any?
So no, there's not. I mean, just that you just have to be able to do like that physical test that we talked about, and then be able to pass like the oral interview. That background process is only like the prerequisites, but you don't have to have any background.
So no like GED or high school diploma?
You have to have a GED or high school diploma, yeah. And then like W. Vargas was saying about steps, So since you guys are like all in school and getting your bachelor's degree, you're gonna get paid more a little bit. You're gonna get paid a little bit more than your partners who don't have a bachelor's degree. We call it like our education incentive, and then it helps you get. California does the peace officer standards, where we have a post certificate, and you get that a little bit faster if you have a degree, which also is gonna help you get paid a little bit more.
And then if you're military like I was, you get to use your GI Bill for the 6 months that you're in the academy, and then Orange County offers it for the first year on the job training since you're still learning your job pretty much. So you get to use your GI Bill for a year and a half, which is pretty good, especially for Southern California. The BH and everything is pretty high.
And during the 6 months of the academy, you're also getting, I think you get about 29 college credits.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to go back to school or anything like that, make sure you pull those like transcripts from that college, because you do get a good amount of college credits during that 6 month academy.
You mentioned there's a pay incentive for the education. What about a second language?
There is, yeah.
There's for that also.
Yep, yep, second language as well.
Depending on
But
how proficient you are,
Yeah.
you could have the basic one, or you could take a test on that language and then get even higher pay. And then if you are really good, you get accepted to be like an interpreter. And like, let's say you're out on patrol and a call comes out where someone's speaking a certain language and they can't, you get called and you handle it as well with your partners.
I'm just asking hypothetically, I'm trilingual, so I'm assuming that would be even more.
Yeah, you get paid a lot.
What languages?
French, Spanish, English.
Nice.
Good for you. That's impressive.
So you'll have a nice paycheck.
The thing we want to do, just in regards to like prerequisites, is set everybody up for success. And I know it sounds cheesy, but there are so many resources that we do offer to kind of get you in that right route. So not only the classes, we just started this new class called the Pre-Employment Preparation for Law Enforcement. I personally took that class because I had no idea what I was doing. And in that class, they're taught by nothing but captains and commanders, which are very high-level experienced officials in our department. And those captains and commanders run us through oral panel interviews. So you show up in a suit, you get 4 tries, or 4 interviews, and you kind of get, again, because it's with them, they have so much experience, you get comfortable when you actually go in to do your own oral panel. And then you also get a jail tour, you get to do some car stops, you actually get to just learn more about your everyday, so it's not such a shock when you go in. And then you do the working out part too, because unfortunately right now, PT is a big thing in our academy. It's rolled out a couple people, so it is very physically demanding, so you have to find that balance. But that course itself, because I took it, I highly recommend it if that's something you're getting into.
That was
It's the pre-employment preparation for law enforcement. So when we give you the cards later, we'll hand it out to everybody. It'll be on there, so you can actually register, and you'll still get the college credits. Every agency, like Riverside, San Bernardino, each academy is partnered up with the college. That's how we can actually teach everything in California. Because once you graduate, you get a certificate from the Peace Officer Standards and Training. That certificate's kind of like a driver's license. So, hey, I can be a cop, and you can go to anywhere in California and even other states to be a cop. So that's how to break it down and get you guys in now. And then if you do decide to join, you will go through a pretty fun 6 months that you'll never want to do again.
Unless you're W Plow, you do.
I love the academy. It was a good time. So the guys with the stripes on their shoulder, that's tax staff.
So how you see the green, that's Orange County Sheriff's Department, and then the blue uniforms are the police departments that are sent to our academy.
This is the Orange County Sheriff's Academy. The time to prepare has passed. The time to perform has begun. Staff 913. I think you're That is against deception. So we against oppression or intimidation. Yeah, brother. Yeah, take a beautiful picture. Push next step. Step two. You did that.
The different scenarios that you're taking on in the academy.
Those things hurt more than the paintball gun. I'll be honest, that's still on the scar. That's our will to survive. Do a gas chamber. Not too fun. That might sink for a couple days.
Class 240, congratulations on making it here to this point, your final inspection. Remember why you're here. Remember the reason why you decided to come and attempt to graduate from the most difficult academy in the nation. It's because you wanted to serve. You wanted to go out there and be a part of something bigger than yourself. It's because you understand that the police are the people and the people are the police. There is no us or them. Come together with your communities and serve. Serve with dignity, serve with pride. There are so many lessons that your tactical staff, your training staff have worked hard to teach you. They've poured their hearts and souls into showing you the way. They're leading by example and making peace officers that are willing to stand tall and to do their jobs no matter what's going on around them. Remember the family and members around you who were there to support you through all these months, 8 long months.
There's this
You're gonna need them. You're gonna lean on them.
Normally it's 6 months.
I want you all to be thankful. Be thankful to those departments that took a chance on you, that allowed you to come to this academy. And be proud. Be proud because you took on the challenge, and here you are. still standing, ready to go. Ready to go out there and fight for the good, to do what's right, and to serve the community around you. Class 240, on behalf of the Orange County Sheriff's Regional Training Academy, I want to congratulate you on making it through this historic academy and this historic academy experience. Class Sergeant, carry on.
That was a good class right there. That was my class.
That brought back a lot of memories.
Not good ones.
No.
Just kidding.
I don't know if anybody recognized, but we all have to buzz our heads, so we all kind of look the
Been there
same.
a couple times.
Yeah. Anybody have any questions in regards to that video before we move on?
Is that pepper spray?
Yeah, it was after the gas.
That's-
Pepper spray and gas chamber aren't good experiences, but it's something, it's kind of a passage because I'd rather get pepper sprayed or put into a gas before I actually do in a riot or something like that, which has been more popular as of recently. So it's, again, those experiences that really kind of make the good memories too, but it sucks at the time. Like anything that you're working hard for, it sucks. It sucks having to study for finals, but once you pass and you get that grade, cool, I get to move on. Yeah.
Talking about the spray, I know there's a few types of spray. Was it OCS spray?
Yeah.
Plus they have you do like the pepper spray and everything too, just in case it's deployed out in the field. You kind of know what it feels like, so you can still execute your job and get stuff done. Instead of like you've never felt it before and you're like freaking out or feeling the sensations for the first time and trying to do your job. It's be very difficult.
And then that's also like, that leads us to the will to survive. So if you haven't been punched in the face, you will get punched in the face, and you also get maybe choked out like I did. So there's two different instances. We have the will to survive and then the crucible. The will to survive, you're fighting against your partner, and it's more of a competition because you're not out there to hurt them, but you do wear the protective gear, and you're actually going one-on-one for probably the longest minute of your life. And if you aren't just stepping it up, they're gonna make it go longer. So you throw out a couple punches because, again, like my first day once I graduated in the jails, I got into a fight and I got bit in the arm by a naked mental inmate who was off his meds and had to get taken to the hospital, and he was there for quite a bit. But that was my first day on training. Thankfully, I didn't freeze up and I handled business, and my partners were there after to kind of just take action plan. But he latched onto my arm and I'm like, stop biting me, just trying to get him off. And that was like my first serious fight. And then the crucible is this whole, you saw him like jumping the walls, baton strikes, these people dress up in like these red man suits and they have padded gear. You jump the wall, you do like a 200-yard sprint, and they're waiting for you there. So you have to fight them off. They're punching you in the face. You have to go through the obstacle course. You go to the punching bag, you start throwing a couple blows, and you get into the mat room, and you're rolling around with our black belts who are jujitsu. So I wanted to forget it. The point of that concept is to have them take your gun. So you're holding on for dear life, trying to escape his like locker where he's got you in. And everything started going black. I was like, wow, I think I'm about to pass out. And then luckily somehow got out of it. And then I was able to secure my weapon and put it down. So.
But say when you're having to fight them off and all that, is this after like the academy where, I mean, do they train you on how to defend
Yes,
yourself?
that's the crucible is like the last thing you do
Okay.
over like a week or so before you graduate. So it's putting together all your training, putting together like the foot pursuits, basically like where you're doing a sprint, the fighting, the punching, because that's what you learned already, the obstacle course. It's then putting it all together and now seeing your stamina and how well like your fighting ability after you put through all this work.
In the academy too, they call it ACT, which is where they're teaching you like control moves on like when you're arresting somebody, how to control them. And if they do try to fight you, like certain takedown moves or like how to manipulate their wrists a certain way to be able to have them comply and stuff like that. So you're not just going out and trying to figure it out on your own.
Okay, I was like,
So
the
first
why
one-
you might know.
Yeah. The first fight, like you said, the first one, so you've never got punched in the face, like that one, that's the first one where they don't expect you to obviously do as great as the second one. They want to see you improve, because a lot of people haven't gotten punched in the face, so it's like They just want you to kind of use what you've learned. That one, and then now where you're at in the second one, and the final. Yeah.
You're not a black belt, but we do cover like jiu-jitsu now. That's actually something that got approved in our tuition reimbursement. So not only do you get your degree, but if you find a gym, like it has to be jiu-jitsu or UFC, we will cover that as long as you attend 3 times a month. And that's a great way of staying in shape and just feeling more comfortable when you're rolling around. So luckily I have a wrestling background, but not jiu-jitsu. So the academy was that much more helpful when I actually learned the techniques of everything.
These are going to be our next testing dates. The Cyrus says DST, that's going to be the deputy, and then as we were covering earlier, the CSA is the correctional side. Our next test is going to be May 6th. Normally it closes out probably like a week before, so if you are interested and you want to take the next step going down this career path, I'd recommend going on either ocsheriff.gov and then click on deputy training and applying that way. And it's like a little quick resume, and then you get invited to come out, and then you do the whole process that we were explaining. If you guys do have any questions too along the way, either on professional side or if you guys are interested in becoming deputy sheriffs, I mean, we're an open book. This is why we're here. So we'd love for you guys to actually reach out to us and ask questions. And you know, it's cool when we get to meet you guys in this setting, and then you guys come out, and you guys say hi to us, and then you guys make it, and then now you're our partner. It's kind of a cool story. So we enjoy that stuff.
And then the card that we were saying has the QR code for to go right into to apply. On the other side, it actually has our email, our recruiting email, and our phone number. So and that goes directly to us.
The who's a first year in college, or who's about to graduate? Okay, first year. Okay, a lot of first years. So if you are interested in making the move, I know we do cover the tuition reimbursement, like we said, but also if you just want to have the information just because you're curious. So a lot of people, I'm all about planning. So my plan was either to go into the military or stick it out in college. I wanted to make sure I got my degree before I got there, but I wasn't aware that we could get it reimbursed. So had I known that, I may have jumped a little bit sooner into the career path. But again, timing's everything. You at least have our information now, and we're open books. We plan on staying around for a while, and you get a good retirement towards the end of it. But really, it's that, like, hey, you taught this class, or hey, I ran into you when you guys presented at this college campus, and then seeing how much we've grown and seeing where you're at this point, it's really special. So.
I'll just to touch on the education reimbursement, like how I said the department paid for most of my bachelor's. When I did it, it was actually only, it was $5,000 a year, but now it's $10,000 a year. So you just have to pay for the class up front, show that you pass them, and then you'll get reimbursed all up to $10,000 every year, and it just has to show. And I got my bachelor's in sociology because that still can be used towards this profession. So as long as it's geared somewhat to the career that you're choosing.
And when you first start off too, if you're in the courts or the jails, in the jails you're doing 312s, and then next week you're doing 412s. So it's very, your schedule is open to go and attend school. That's what a lot of people do while they're waiting to go out to patrol. They get that bachelor's degree because again, you get more pay. And then even if you go to the courts, the schedule still allows you to go do that stuff. Even if you guys want to go professional side, you know, law enforcement right now is evolving, and we just need a lot of good people. And the way law enforcement is going in general is the right way. And trying to become something bigger than yourself and be part of the cause for the greater good in our community and the state of California too. It's definitely a good avenue of approach and career field, no matter professional or sworn side benefits. Long term, I know right now you're trying to like make money and get your family established and everything too, but Orange County as well, no matter the spot you get the benefits and you get a pension. So at the end of the day, if you guys start to have a family later on in life, you're well taken care of. And maybe you can't really see that right now because you're just trying to get schooling done and it's just you or your boyfriend or girlfriend. But I mean, it's good to think about those things too, just like that big fly was saying. You want to have options and you want to have a plan. So that's what it comes down to. But yeah, thanks for having us today and listening. If you guys have questions, come up. I mean, ask anything. Get some free stuff. We got some stuff up here, shaker bottles, bags and stuff. But yeah, so nice meeting you guys.
Okay, any questions, guys? This is your opportunity.
I do have a question. So obviously you have like the correctional academy, right? And then you have like to actually become a deputy. So if you were to want to, after the academy, like transfer from correctional to actual deputy, could you do that, and what is the process?
So you can do that. So to become a deputy, you have to be 21 years old. to be a correctional service assistant, you have to be 18. So what a lot of people do is start doing that first, so then you're in the department, start your retirement, start to get to know people, get to know the department, but you still do have to go through the deputy, because you're going from non-sworn to now a sworn position where you're carrying a gun and all that, and have arrest privileges.
So you go through the academy.
So you go through 2 academies,
Yeah.
but
But
there's
then you
no.
kind of know what to expect.
Yeah.
It's like a little mini version of the bigger one, so at least you know a little bit.
So at 18, they can seek employment at the jails, correct? What kind of duties would that entail for an 18-year-old being exposed to a jail type setting?
So most of the time, there's different positions within the correctional services. Like Deputy Vargas said, you're in some of them. You're in kind of like we call the bubble or the hub of the module of housing, which is kind of like the U shape of the housing. So you oversee all of that. You're making sure the deputies are safe when they're during their walks, just in case like if they check their back, turn around, talking to the inmate. You're always kind of like their eyes and ears of that. And there's a lot of rights that inmates have that have to be followed. Like they have to get fed at certain times. They have to have clothing exchange, and you have to check like their safety and security a certain amount of times. So the CSA, the Correctional Services Assistant, is logging all of that. So you're have a lot of responsibilities for an 18-year-old if you've never, but it's a good starting point then to see what, now you're gonna meet all these deputies and now do the deputy route. There are other ones that you can also do where you're in charge of the inmate workers, so you do have inmate contact, where basically you're just monitoring low-level inmates, clean parts of the jail.
Okay, so you're not actually working out in the housing unit, having that contact on a daily basis, they're more isolated?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I was always curious about how that.
And it didn't used to always be like that. The CSA used to
Yeah.
be able to like do the walks and stuff like that, but I
Right.
think because there was like, a little bit
Yeah.
younger, they started to take that over.
That's a good idea. I think he had a
Yeah.
question.
You're talking about, like officers' duties, I had a question about the library, the law library. Is there like any professional opportunities for like working in a law library?
So that's like a professional stuff, and it'd be through like the programs division of the jails, but you're overseeing the whole program, and then, so you wouldn't necessarily, you can be like a volunteer though, but there's not so much specifically to like the law library.
Okay,
But
so
there's
you guys
a-
only have like terminals or?
Yeah, it's basically how the inmates, we don't have like a library like you might like maybe see on TV show in prison. The inmates request it, what specific books they want from the law library, and then we have the program director that will review it and make sure we have that book if they're allowed to access it, and then distribute it to the inmates.
So technology's advancing and they're kind of getting away from books. So now something that's like upstate, if you're doing serious prison time, they have iPads. And that's actually something we're gonna get in our jails. So everybody or all the inmates will have access to these iPads. Each one's issued to them where they would also be able to purchase movies, purchase books, and things like that.
So far as I know, is the tablets don't have access to LexisNexis or Westlaw.
They would still have to request certain
and
things,
the
yes.
terminals do, so I was curious if you guys actually had a physical library.
Yeah,
where
we still do.
paralegals or somebody could come in like law clerk.
Yeah, we still do, they just don't, the inmates can't go access it, it goes through like a system.
Okay, so you
Yeah.
guys do, okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions, guys?
You have to go to the academy like when you forensics or the crime scene investigation.
You go through more of like a schooling, educational like academy, and then you do through like if you want to do coroner, they're technically sworn, so they do carry a gun and have arrest powers, but it's a separate. It's not like a stress academy. It's just more of a classroom based.
I think our crime line is like the second biggest in the state of California, so it's pretty big. The forensic side too, and then IT is really big for our department because everything's going down a different road with law enforcement. So IT is huge too, depending on, I don't know if all you guys are criminal justice majors or other majors, so those different avenues are pretty big too.
Okay, anything else, guys? This is it. Going once? Twice?
Yes, sir.
So
Yes.
I took law enforcement back in high school, and my teacher, he was a prior law enforcement officer. He said when he was in as a trainee, he had to have a mentor, where that would pass like his evaluation where they could be on the field or not.
Yeah.
And he mentioned at the time that though that you can either pass or fail and get kicked out or not, depending if that mentor passes you. Now, some of them, he said his was pretty bad in terms of like, you have to follow me exactly, otherwise I'm just gonna boot you.
So
Do you guys have that? Is that like still in place?
that's not a thing. I can tell you, maybe you can relate to it, that's like the old school way, and things have moved, like just society's changing as a whole, where we're more politically correct, and our sheriff, Don Barnes, he's big against hazing. So it may have been a little bit of hazing, where it's like giving the boot, the new guy, a hard time, and when you do go out to patrol, your TO, your training officer, is expecting you to handle calls for service in your style, but guess what? You're on training, so you're still learning your style. So the FTO, field training officer, he's the one guiding you and showing you his style of policing. And you do get your like actual evals done daily. If you don't do well on a call that you may have handled before, then you're probably not going to pass. But there's different phases. So if you don't pass a phase, you get extended, and then you have the opportunity to pass again. But if you do fail, you go back to the jails with like a police department, the blue uniforms. You fail field training, you're out of a job with
After
that
going
agency.
to a 6-month academy.
Yeah, so that's the way it's seen. With us, if you don't pass field training, you gotta go back to the jails, and you can always put in for it again when the opportunity arises. But I know there's horror stories, my dad's got some himself, about how strict they used to be, or if you just looked at them sideways, or if they just flat out didn't like you, or if you pissed off one of their best friends, you were out. That's gone, that's no longer a thing. So now it's like, hey, everybody, we're all on the same team, same goal. So that's nothing. Back then, the new guys had to wear white t-shirts. That's how you knew you were new. Now we all wear black t-shirts, things like that. So I hate that. It's tough because he grew up in that generation of law enforcement, but that was a little bit more cowboy. Now we're all about handling the situation at hand, de-escalating, verbal communication. We'll put out the CNT team to just about any call before we get SWAT out there to break down the door and go in if we have to. So we've spent 7 to 8 hours on the phone with the guy just talking. So we're going to that extent. And then in terms of training, we're about to go out to patrol. That's kind of something that's always been in the back of my head, but I've been talking to my buddies who are on training right now, and they have no horror stories. They say everybody there is super helpful. That generation's kind of phased out and retired, and it's no longer tolerated, so they could actually lose their jobs. There's serious issues with that because our sheriff doesn't stand it.
You used an acronym prior to sending SWAT. You said, we called them NMT.
Yeah,
What do you?
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
the CNT Crisis Negotiation Team.
And that's your negotiations management team, we call it. They do all the talking.
Yeah,
SWAT does all the shooting.
de-escalating, like I said, the suicidal caller
Yeah.
and stuff like that. But I mean, it is still a pass-fail, because you still have to prove that you have job knowledge, so.
And you guys are union, right?
Mhm.
So you have a union that is involved at certain stages when you're talking about termination.
Yeah, we are always like.
As long as they stick to the process. So it does make it a little bit more fair these days.
Yes.
Okay, anything else? We got a couple minutes, then these officers are on the road.
For the mentor program, you can access that like with the little cards that you're with the that.
So in order to go to the mentoring program, you gotta pass the wall board, and once you start the background process, we invite you out to come to the mentoring program.
But the other ones, like the pre-employment and
Oh,
the
the-
TAPS one, the
Yeah.
16 hours one, that one you could just apply through Santa Ana College. That one's like more so through the college versus like the actual academy and tactical staff.
And that's a face-to-face type of class? Okay, so it's not online. Okay. Anything else, guys? Okay, well, thank you, officers, for showing
Yeah.
up. Deputies.
Oh no, I was.
You got another question?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Okay, no, go ahead.
Okay, so I just wanted to ask, so you guys said like you have a limited time for each special unit. Is that what you said before?
So not every, no. Most police departments have a limited time. Most of ours don't. There's only like, there's a few that have some limited, like we have like our gang enforcement team versus like, that might be a limited spot, like a 2 to 3 year spot, but you don't necessarily demote back to patrol. It's almost like a stepping stone. So they want to help you go to like investigations, so you're just getting a better foundation, but you're not like, if you become a homicide investigator for police departments, you do only get like 3 to 5 years and you go back to patrol. Versus our department, that's a promotion, and you can stay there, you can retire as an investigator if you want. Or sergeant, same thing. It's all a stepping stone versus some of the police departments, it's all one, and then you go back to starting.
What if you had a prior physical injury, like a head injury, could that possibly disqualify you or something?
It would just, that would be based on the medical doctors.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's all like with HIPAA. If the medical doctor says something, they don't tell us why you're disqualified. That would be between you and that medical doctor.
Yeah, cause I got shot in the head with a rubber bullet and I have carpal tunnel now, so.
They, again, it's, if the doctor that you meet with during the background process feels that you could still, and you guys have those conversations and feel that you could still perform, then that's gonna be like between you guys. But if they say you can't, they're just gonna say you didn't pass. They won't say anything else.
Okay. Well, thank y'all, deputies, for your time, guys.
Thank you.
We're gonna stop here.